All right, we will call the meeting to order, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Once again, it's nice and sunny out at this time of the year when we meet, so thank you for the weather change. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Cullum.
Yes.
Odie.
Yes.
Saxer.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
All right, if there are no questions on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve that as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests this evening. Takes us to approval of the meeting minutes from October 9th and October 23rd. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So move. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Community input, we did not have anyone sign up for that tonight, and I don't see anyone in the audience. That takes us to financial items. Bills and claims, Mr. Lundberg.
Just had a couple noted on page 2, Architecture Incorporated, $40,000 for East Side Elementary architect fees. We shut that down for a total to date is $281,000 with the architect, but we shut it down after that. He might have a little bit of outside consultants, but pretty much shut down until we start back up with the bid process. Had one other one noted, unless somebody else had some questions. On page 14, Teachwell, no, on page, I'm sorry, where is it? 17, Teachwell. That we had quarterly payments of $224,000 for all of our programs. And then we had monthly payments for August and September for additional fees that we get charged for more services for some of the kids and whatnot. That totaled $138,785 for just under $362,000 paid to Teachwell this month. Total bills were $1,008,298. Advance payments breakdown of $7,221 is for review. $93,776 of pay vouchers. A lot of activity workers and substitutes during this past month, and then $206,757 of food service bills.
Any questions tonight on the bills and claims? If,
I see the expeditions. Are they in use? We've got them then? Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to approve the bills and claims as presented, please.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial report, Mr. Lundberg.
Okay, the cash report for the month of October had $8.4 million coming into the month. We had $3,562,000 of receipts. In the middle section there, will see a temporary interfund transfer between the capital outlay fund and the general fund. Since the capital outlay fund relies 100% on property taxes, you get into October and it gets a little short with all the beginning of the year expenses that we have in that fund. So we have a total interfund transfers of $825,000 from the general fund to the capital outlay fund. Those should be taken care of next month with the tax draw coming in. $5,255,000 of expenditures, left $6.7 million at the end of October, of which $6.2 million was in the general fund, $412,000 in the special education fund, $426,000 in the bond redemption fund, and $11,000 in the enterprise fund. Receipts are itemized in the next 2 pages. Investment report shows $2,087,604. Payroll report for the month of October was just under $3 million, $2,890,000. financial statements for the year ended for October. The first page is the revenues. General fund revenues are at 22.92% versus 23.4% last year, pretty equivalent. All the funds are right in line with where they were at last year, pretty close. The expenditure report, we're a third through the year, 33%. The general fund showed 32.68% expended versus 33.3% last year. So it's about 0.5% lower than it was last year. Substantial when you're dealing with $40 million. So we haven't assumed the cuts that we've made yet. Those are coming, so we plan on being somewhat under that. We'll see. Capital outlay fund is at 42.75% expended. The special education fund is at 29.5%. Special education fund, we have a considerable lag when on the out-of-district placement billings. Those people just don't get the billings out on time. That was one thing I thought of in my retirement to help them get their billings. That's the most important thing you do is bill. And bond redemption fund is 31.87%. Food service fund shows an accrued balance, accrued loss of $132,437. For any of you astute accounting people, you'll notice up on the actual that I have a negative number under the a la carte sales and the actual sales. Reason for that, that's netted down in the bottom with the web store sales receivable of $473,000 is netted with the $171,000. So actual a la carte sales year to date would be about $300,000. We're picking up the receivable down below to make that balance. So year to date, $132,000 loss. And the trust and agency funds $248,694 on dollars held for others. I'll entertain any questions.
There's $15,000 in outstanding checks of the $19,000.
Yeah, was that in the trust and agency?
Yeah,
Yeah.
15,000 and 19,000 is outstanding.
No, that's 15,000 in the wage deduction account. That's the payroll
Okay.
clearing account. So those checks are written right at the end of the month, 25th on, so some of those don't clear.
Thank you.
Any further questions this evening for Mr. Lumberg? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lumberg. General business, administration reports, Administrative Center, Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few items to update the board on here this evening. The school accountability report card, the public report card, has been released. That is out there and available to the public on the South Dakota Department of Education website, so I'd encourage folks to go take a look at that. I will provide a high-level overview of our accountability report card at our second meeting in November during the State of the Schools address. Continuing to work through our strategic planning review process, small focus groups, met with a number of them, et cetera. So we'll just continue to work that process throughout this respective school year. Free and reduced meal applications, again, would encourage families to submit the application for that. We deal with some negative lunch account balances and those various things, and it's important for you as the board to note that we won't utilize Angel funds to pay for a child's meal unless they fill out the application. So that is a component of, we need our families to cooperate with that respective process because it's the only way to qualify for free meals. Eastside Elementary School construction, as you guys know, delayed 1 year for infrastructure planning and development. That is set to open in the fall of 2026. We will hold a tabletop exercise on November 15th at Inspiration Elementary. That is being facilitated by the Sioux Falls Emergency Manager. We will have local law enforcement, including Sioux Falls PD as well as Brandon PD, et cetera, as well as our administration there. So appreciate them facilitating that tabletop exercise for us. Our legislative breakfast will be held on Thursday, December 7th. Again, Thursday, December 7th. That is a change off of Wednesday, December 6th. Our legislators had a conflict, so we moved it one day. So please note for your calendar, Thursday, December 7th, we will be meeting for our legislative breakfast. Associated School Board's Delegate Assembly will be held on Friday, November 17th in Pierre. Mr. Scott is the Brandon Valley School District's representative at that Associated School Board's event, and Ellie Saxer also participates, but she participates in the capacity as an executive board member for ASBSD. The academic calendar for next year is in the process of being developed and reviewed. I have met with BVA leadership to take a look at the calendar that we're bringing forward, as it will require ultimately their approval prior to being able to bring it forward, and we did receive that. So right now, ultimately, what we're working through is our process with our various calendar committees, and I would anticipate bringing the initial presentation to you at the first meeting in January with potential approval of the 24-25 academic calendar at our second meeting in January. Starting to talk a little bit about the budget process. At this point in time, I would tell you that the Brandon Valley School District Administration works through their 5-year planning process, and that is ultimately completed in December. And then January through March, we work through a number of things through the central office. I would anticipate that you see a presentation of the 5-year plan in February. We will approve new staffing positions if there are any. With our respective efficiencies that we are creating for next year, I think the amount of new staffing will be obviously very limited. In March, you'll get that preliminary capital outlay budget for your approval, and that is the big ticket items that we need to work through the procurement process or the bid process in terms of getting those numbers in a timely manner. In May, you'll receive the preliminary budget presentation, and if all goes according to plan, we will hold our public hearing in July and ultimately look for potential action. The National Blue Ribbon School Ceremony, Principal Foster and myself are attending that on November 16th and 17th in Washington, D.C. And then just a couple of current calendar year items to note. No school next week, Wednesday through Friday for Thanksgiving. December 21st is a 2-hour early dismissal, and then we are on winter break from December 22nd through January 2nd. January 15th, there is no school on that respective school day, and it is a half-day flexible workshop for our certified staff. So ultimately, that half-day flexible workshop was a component of our enrollment and budget plan reduction, and what we are asking our staff to do is by the end of the day on the 15th, have their grades posted, as that's the primary purpose for that respective work day as outlined in the contract. So the half-day flexible workshop is just that. It is flexible for our staff. They can work from home. They could work from the office. They could come to the classroom. So ultimately, they determine where they will be for that half-day workshop day on January 15th. With that, Madam Chair, that is all I have. I would note that this week does mark American Education Week, so appreciate all that our staff does, from bus drivers to educational assistants to classroom teachers to administrative staff, custodial staff, nurses staff, all across the board. During American Education Week, we celebrate public education in the United States. So would certainly like to express our sincere appreciation for all of our staff as we celebrate this week. With that, that is all I have. Would certainly entertain any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. Mr. Lundberg, anything additional tonight? All right. High school, Mr. Schleckaway? Okay. Mrs. Moore, Mr. Paula, and, no, okay. Middle school, Dr. Nelson?
Good evening. As we're getting into our winter season, girls' basketball is starting up. They had a game today up in Brookings. Our clubs are rocking and rolling. RAD has a project. Best Buddies is going. Middle school is always a busy place, busy place. But we have some things to highlight in our fine arts department these last few weeks. We had 13 students make the ACDA Regional Honor Choir. It's a huge honor to represent our state this way. They're selected from students auditioning in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. A lot of the area schools had 0 to maybe 1 or 2, just a small handful. So to have 13 students representing Brandon Valley Middle School and Brandon Valley School District was huge. The other thing that I'd like to put on your radar is this weekend, Brandon Valley Middle School opens Aladdin Junior. Kids have been working very hard for the last month or two. Friday, November 17th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, November 18th at 2 p.m. We present Aladdin Junior in the Fine Arts Center. So hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rothenberger, any? Okay. Mr. Skibstead or Mr. Pearson? Mrs. Otime, anything? Elementaries, anything? No? Mrs. Nelson? Mr. Henschel? And Mr. Frecking is busy, I'm betting. No board policy tonight, so that takes us to our general business section. I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 5 as presented, please.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel, I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 9, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 3 items for information only. Under communication, there are some building permit applications for your review under the central office section. Otherwise, formal board reports. Does anyone have a formal board report they would like to share this evening?
This isn't a board report. I just would like to say, last week for Veterans Day, I had the opportunity to go to Inspiration for their program in the morning, and I was really impressed at the presentation that was given there on, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, or Thursday, maybe Thursday, I don't know. But anyway, it was very impressive, and what gave me goosebumps is when you have about 200 plus little kids stand up and give the Pledge of Allegiance. To hear all those kids yelling or doing it, makes you really proud that you're an American. So that's all I had.
Anyone else? All right, there's a travel report for you to review. Otherwise, that takes us to the end of our agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming.